Foxborough School Committee regular meeting to order. Our agenda this evening will be visitors, approval of minutes, teaching and learning highlight with World Language and Culture Night, Miss Christine Smith, the K through 12 World Language Department Head, and FHS students. 7:30, Superintendent's entry plan, report of findings with Dr. Amy Beardos. Ahern Middle School principal announcement, Dr. Beardos, Dr. Mello. School committee vote to approval for public schools policy. Excuse me. Acceptance of donation and other matters. I should have had somebody else read. Will you explain? Change the agenda.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Make sure she's okay. We're actually the first, after the teaching and learning highlight, we're going to flip on the agenda and have the Ahern Middle School principal announcement prior to my presentation of my entry plan report of findings. So at this time, visitors?
Visitors? Approval of minutes. Excuse me.
I have no changes to the minutes.
I actually just have one change. It says that Mr. Connolly was not present, but I believe you were at the last meeting, right, Chris? Yep. So you were quoted throughout the minutes, so I think we just need to change that. That's it. That's my only change.
You usually don't even like look up there. You're looking at them.
I look at everything.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
I missed that.
I missed things, though, but I saw that. But aside from that, I didn't have any other changes. So I'll move to accept the minutes of March 18th, 2019 as amended.
All in favor? 500. Excuse me. Mr. Uchter will join us as soon as his borough meeting is over. Teaching and learning highlight.
I'll take this one over here. So, Senorita Smith, I'd like to invite her up to the table with her esteemed colleagues as well. They're here to talk about last Monday night's World Culture Fair that took place here at the high school. And if you had the opportunity to come, there were, I'm sure you'll tell us, but probably 500-600 people that came through. And this was the fourth year. Sixth?
Yeah, I actually have some of that on my slide.
Okay.
So, some numbers
So
to
the
start us off with.
sixth year, and I know that we also have some other guests, I think, maybe in the audience too. So, Senorita.
So at the moment, I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues. So I have Muriel Montion here, who works at the Borough, and I have Marta Abe, one of my colleagues here at the high school, who both participated in World Language and Culture Night by having their own tables, as well as, of course, helping us organize and put it all together. So thank you for having us tonight here this evening. It's hard to believe that just a week ago, this was where the event took place, between here and the cafeteria, and we did have hundreds of people walking through here. Oh, let's see. Here we go.
You know what? You're in that weird. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so I tried to do a little bit by the numbers, just to give you an overview based on what Karen Fraser had left from the first year when she started it in 2014. It is our sixth year, and families participating. We had 17 families in the beginning, I believe, and we have 24 this year. The restaurants donating, I think we had at least 7 in the beginning. We had 9 this year. I didn't have information on the arts and crafts tables or the estimated attendance, but this year we had at least 5 different arts and crafts tables going on, which was really an increase for us and added to a lot of the fun and hands-on experience. And the estimated attendance was about 650. We did have kids trying to count, but it is really hard when you consider people are just going back and forth. But we did try to count. But we usually get anywhere between, I would say, 650 and 800 people, I think, in a given year. So it's it's really been a steady program of ours since its inception, so it's been a really nice addition to
You
our
had several
year.
dances also.
Yes, we
that
did. We had several dances this year as well, yes. So,
They got everyone up.
what makes our World Language and Culture Night special? That's how, when I thought of this, I thought I would share a few things with you. First and foremost has to be our Foxborough families. They really are the star of the evening. It would not be the night that it is without our families willing to come and share their culture with us, and put a lot of work into their displays that they do. And those that come and just enjoy the night and get really involved. So it really is a nice night, and we couldn't do it without them. Of course, our celebration of cultures. That's what makes our night special as well. Here we have a family from Bangladesh doing henna tattoo art. We have our first grade and kindergarten students from both here and the Foxborough Charter School performing their Bollywood dance, and they're a crowd favorite, I have to say. Let's see. Part of our celebration of cultures are the beautiful display tables that the families make. The one on the right, Puerto Rico, it was just really colorful. She even brought in a plant. And Guatemala, we have here on the left, where one of the mothers is a baker, I believe, right, by trade, and she prepared 10 different recipes for our evening. So that was a beautiful table.
I think I sampled all of those on the table.
Word traveled fast. Go to Guatemala.
Yeah, it was lovely. And then to me, part of the things that makes the night really special is coming together. We've really begun to work. I consider partnered with the different groups in the school and the community. On the left, we have a picture of the art department monumentals. It's a high school art department project. A lovely opportunity for parents to see the work, and actually it's right behind you on the wall, some of it, and for the elementary and middle school students to come and kind of have a glimpse of what goes on at the high school in the art department. We have a couple of pictures of students in the music program who volunteered to do something on their own that evening. So we have the art department, we have the music department involved. I was able to work with Jacinia Castro this year from the METCO program, and she was able to invite, on the left there, we have Carol's Florian. She's the Hingham METCO director, and she came and she taught bachata to an audience of small children, so they looked like they were having a great time. And then on the right, we have Sumner and Linda McLean, who are also part of our METCO program. And of course, the food. We all love the food that takes place that night. Not only do we have donations from the community, and as you can see, we have the 9 different restaurants and one of the local store, Stop and Shop, who's always supported this program. We have Muriel here with her crepes. Next to her is actually Marta's husband, Gerald Abe, serving up some croissants. And Marta's further down the table representing Mexico as well. So the food, I thought, was really incredibly generous of the restaurants this year. So I just think it's a great night to just not just see and touch things, but you can taste them as well. And I also think that this night offers an opportunity for people to shine. Whoever wants to come can perform, and we've really kind of made it a student-based performance activity. And we have the Showcase Dance Productions is from Rentham. They come and do our step dance for us every year, and everyone enjoys them. We saw our Bollywood dancers earlier. Other students that performed, we had, on the left, we had a student in the French classes, a freshman in the French classes, wrote her own song about the circumflex, which is an accent mark, if I am correct, in French. So she wrote her own rap.
That's funny. I want to hear that rap, please.
So it's really, so imagine that just the inspiration that went on there between the music and the French, and it came together. And then we have our sign language students interpreting a song there as well. So we really enjoy getting the students to participate and show off what they can do. And last but not least, we have our poster contest that takes place in grades 3 and 4 in the elementary program. So we choose a grade 3 winner and a grade 4 winner. Grade 4, we had Madison Hayes from the Igo Elementary. And for grade 3, we had Ariana Acosta from the Borough, and she has joined us this evening. Say hi, Ariana. Will you want to come over to the table and say hi? So Ariana has the other 3 images of our theme this year: expand your mind, expand your heart, expand your world. What did you think? Did you like our theme this year?
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you enjoy making a poster out of that? You did a really nice job, and I think in the brown, the parts, I forget what it says, and the parts that connect do you remember what it says? All together or something? All as, I think it says
One.
all as one. So those parts that connect the brain, the heart, and the world says all as one. I thought that was really smart and very attractive.
Very creative.
So congratulations. We're proud of you. Maybe you'll try again next year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any thoughts?
Okay, your.
What was your favorite part of the night?
I
Did you come? Or did you?
You
No,
know?
she didn't come this year. No.
Okay.
But you've been
Next
in the
year.
past, right? You've been in the past, right? Have you been? No,
Not
not
yet.
yet. Okay, next
In
year
the
in
future.
Foxborough.
Awesome. Great. Well, congratulations, Ariana. Thank you for coming
We'll
tonight.
display can we have the poster back?
Yep.
We'll display it at the Borough for
Absolutely.
the art show. Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so before I give my thank yous, we do have another student actually here this evening from the high school. Is it Fran Alarcon? Where are you at? Oh, hi. Come on over. I'm going to actually give you my seat.
Do you want to sit down?
Have a seat.
It's okay, thank you, Zena.
Maybe you can just tell school committee, because you also, you host a table.
I hosted for Guatemala, because I'm from there. So my mom and I collaborated together, very kind of like last minute, to put together a table, because my mom is part of 4th generation for bakers in her country. So she has a bakery in her hometown. And all of the recipes that we brought together that she made, obviously, because I'm not a good baker.
Yeah, it's to open one here. Right?
Yeah. It's a shame she can't communicate with you guys, but she understands you and is very thankful for the opportunity to have a table. So as I was saying, she made all the recipes, and it's kind of all unique to our family. So it was all passed down to us, and eventually maybe me.
You need to learn. It's your turn.
So we put together a table. We did the recipes in Spanish and English, and everybody just kind of like came, and it was not overwhelming at all. It was more of like exciting that people were, enthusiastic about our food, because it's very different, to say the least. So some people obviously were kind of like open to trying new things, and some other people weren't, which is okay. So we're happy that people approached us and got something to eat.
Nice.
Do you have any food left?
It was delicious.
It was
Oh, same reason. We never have any food left.
No, the crepes go.
Oh, it's gone. 300
Those
gone.
crepes are ridiculous.
Yeah, we made a lot too.
That was very generous of you and your mother to do that.
Is this the
Thank
first
you.
year you've done a table?
No, we did it last year, but it was also very last minute, so it went by faster than this year. Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing it. Very, very generous.
Thank you guys as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And her mom.
Okay, and did you want Muriel to share something from another family?
Yes, so there's another family at the Borough, the Truss family. They're from England, and they've been participating for the past 6 years, and Justin is sick, so they couldn't come tonight. But I asked her to send me a little text to share her experience, so I wanted to share that with you. For the past several years, my family has celebrated the diversity of the Foxborough community at World Language Culture Night. It has not only allowed us the opportunity to share information regarding my husband's proud English heritage and birthplace, but we also had the pleasure of learning about the extraordinary international background of many members of our community. We've gained an abundance of knowledge and information just by visiting someone's booth and asking about what life is like where they're from. It's an amazing family event that can be enjoyed by all, and let's face it, you can't beat the food samples.
That is true.
And so I'd like to share, we've been, representing, as you can hear from my accent, being the Spanish teacher from Paris. We've been sharing our, my heritage for the past 6 years, and it's just been a wonderful experience. Kids are really open to other cultures, starting so early on in first grade, so they're just open to learning about other cultures, which is
great.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So I definitely had a couple of thank yous, obviously, to the entire community for participating in, donating, and supporting this event. Fran and her family, her mom for being here tonight. Our entire staff, grades 1 through 12, work really hard to pull this together. The World Language Club in particular, the student sweat equity that's put into this by the students, run by Kathy Joseph, the advisor, and of course custodial staff for helping us move things around. But I also wanted to give a special thank you to Martha Abe and her husband, Gerald, who did a fabulous job of securing a couple of extra restaurants for us, and a couple of families. Really, you did a wonderful job reaching out to a few families and making them feel comfortable to participate. So I feel like we had a little extra special this year due to the efforts of Marta and her husband. So I thank you both.
Right, and Madame Abe, who has a French name, but doesn't speak a word of French, she teaches Spanish.
Yes, I just would like to say, I really enjoyed so much this event. It was a learning experience for me last year, and this one is like most enjoyable. And it feels great when you see the community together and they share and they like giving. And at the same time, you feel like we are more like a family. And I did really like it very much. And my husband is also enjoys being part of it, even though we don't have children of our own here, but we like it very much. And he said, I don't have kids, but these are like, it's an amazing opportunity for me to do something for this community who has been wonderful for us since we're living here in Foxboro. So it's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. And I'm just going to take one more minute. Oh, and of course, thank you to Shannon Pearson, whose pictures I did use to put together this lovely presentation. And thank goodness she came through for me. So I just wanted to take a quick minute of your time, not more than a minute, to just introduce something that's coming in the near future for us in the World Language Department. The Seal of Biliteracy has been accepted here and adopted here in the state of Massachusetts. And the seal is an award that recognizes students who have achieved proficiency in English as well as one or more additional language, whether it be their native language, a heritage language, or an additional language learned in a school or in another setting. It's a statement of accomplishment that helps to signal evidence of a student's readiness for career and college and to engage as a global citizen. So it's been in a pilot program for the last couple of years. This year is the first year that the state of Massachusetts Department of Ed has kind of taken over the implementation of it, and we would like to bring it to our graduates beginning next year, which is really exciting. And just
2020, that means, not 2019.
2020. Yes, so we would like to begin awarding the seal if we can with the graduating class of 2020. There are 2 levels, the Mass State Seal of Biliteracy and the Seal of Biliteracy with distinction. So there is 2 levels that you can achieve.
Wow.
And basically, it really just better prepares our students for global society if we can keep them achieving in their languages not just through junior year, but through senior year. It recognizes students with second language skills learned at home. So it's actually it's a biliteracy seal, so therefore they actually have to have a certain grade on their MCAS English scores, ELA scores, as well as a certain score in their second language. So that can be a language learned at home or in a school or another environment. So it's valuing what some students are already coming here with, which is 2 or 3 languages, and it demonstrates the value, of course, of being bilingual. So that's something that we're going to be working on, and we hope to bring here to Foxborough High School in the coming year. The end.
Excellent. We discussed that earlier.
Yes.
We've already discussed that and given our go-ahead to pursue it.
Something that's coming in the future, yes.
Right.
Okay, so I am going to pass your mouse to you, if that's...
Could I ask you to stay just one brief, because you also have recently returned from our Spanish exchange program
Yes, I have.
in Valencia and Chirivella.
Yes, actually, Mrs. Bay was there with me as well as a co-advisor for her
Good.
first time
Seeing as
participating in the student trip.
you have us as captive audience, can you?
I'm sure you have business to do. Yeah, it was an incredibly successful year. We had 18 students, which is a very large number, one of our biggest trips ever. It was the students. The relationships they're forming are just unbelievable between the Americans and the Spanish. And I think the use of social media, where they can stay in touch all year long, has really enhanced the experience for them all. And they just had a fabulous time. The families were wonderful to them. And we also at the end of the trip, we went off to Toledo for 2 days and were able to explore the ancient capital of Spain with just us as a group, and walked for miles and miles and miles within those 2 days, up and downhill as well. So I thought it was phenomenal. How'd you think it went?
Yeah, I think it was really wonderful. It was my first experience traveling with kids, but I really enjoy it. And kids, obviously they loved it also as well. They learned a lot of things. They really felt like they want to do it again. They want to keep this communication with the families. So it was really amazing. I would do it again.
You said that in front of witnesses.
A lot.
Recorded, alive.
And TV.
Fantastic. Is that? Well,
Thank
thank you
you
so
all.
much.
Thank you
for
very
having
much.
us. Let me bring this over to you.
Thank you for our families that came this evening, too, from the World Culture Night. The food was delicious, and I think that's one of the wonderful things. We know food brings families together, and it really was our Foxborough family that brought everyone together, along with just learning about different cultures, and I know I enjoy that part very much.
Wonderful. All right, I would now like to accept the exchange we decided upon and the Ahern Middle School principal announcement. Dr. Amy Berdos and Dr. Allison Mello, please.
All right. I would like to invite Miss Karen Frazier up to the guest table. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bye, Ariana.
As Ms. Frazier comes up to the guest table, I'd also like to make a point of acknowledging in our audience that we have all 5 of our current principals, Ms. Diana Myers-Pakla, Ms. Michelle McCarthy, Mr. Mike Stanton, Dr. Maura Rogers, Ms. Sue Abrams. We have Mr. Aaron Heyer as far as here to support the announcement of the next Ahern Middle School, Ms. Karen Frazier. Take a few minutes and talk a little bit about our process. We had a very thorough process. Thank you to Tina and Marilyn for being part of that process, and I know Dr. Mello will talk about it as well. That's one of the things that I think that we do very differently in Foxborough from when I speak with colleagues in other districts. The number of people that are involved when we go to select in a leadership position and teacher positions as well. We had a 17-member committee that was made up of school committee members, parents, teachers, staff, administrators, and that was led by Dr. Mello. So I don't know if you want to just take a few minutes and talk about that process first.
Sure.
I think, first of all, the makeup of our interview team was really important because we had so many different constituents. So we had everyone from the classroom teachers representing each of the 4 grade levels. We had the school nurse representing sort of the guidance and health department. We had Jasenia Castro, our METCO director. We had our parent volunteers. It was just a really eclectic group of people. Even the classroom teachers, they represented different fields of expertise. And then we had our building administrators as well on the bookends of the middle school, someone to represent the elementary, which was Mike Stanton, and the high school, which was Diana Myers-Pacla. So it was a really great experience. And we started by screening through our candidates. We had a large pool. And Amy often says that Foxborough is a destination of choice. We had 41 applicants for this position. And there's an initial screening that happens to see if everyone has their license and all of that. And then after that, the packets go out to all of the members, and we really go through a screening process together. People do their own analysis, and then it's a very systematic approach that we use to narrow down the candidates to see who's worthy of coming in for an interview. Who do we want to learn more about? So we originally had invited in 8 candidates for that, and one, I believe she got another job. So we went through multiple evenings of interviews. Thank you for giving up so much of your personal time. And then after that round, we invited candidates to the next round. It's a long process, takes multiple weeks. And those 2 finalists had site visits at the Ahern Middle School. So Ms. Frazier and our other candidate spent 1 full day at the Ahern Middle School, and jump in at any time if I'm skipping over any parts, where they got to meet with different constituency groups. They met with parents, they met with teachers, they met with custodial staff, they met with cafeteria staff, they did classroom visits and got to explore the school. It was a pretty comprehensive day with different people getting to interact with the candidates. Anything that I missed? You've done this so many times. It was my first time doing this. I was really glad.
Isn't the process incredible?
I've been part of the process before, but never led the process before. And I will tell you that there were teachers who had not, or even just not even teachers, constituents who had never participated, who said, this is quite a thorough and dynamic process.
Well, I think that
Karen's nodding. Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah, the diversity of the search team is one of its strengths, I feel.
And you did an amazing job, Allison.
Well, thank you. It was a learning experience for me to be on the other end of it, but it was really great to have the input of so many people within a system that really is designed to help us really match the best person for our needs. So I believe that we did that.
So I think before we talk more specifically of why Karen is here before you to be the next principal of the Ahern Middle School, Mrs. Abrams goes off into retirement, although I think she's in complete denial.
She's just very, very busy.
She's very busy.
She has a school to run.
But based on that process, it's so many stakeholders that are involved and really looking for what's the best fit for Foxborough, knowing our education of excellence and educating the whole child and our standards. And after going through 41 applicants and having the person sitting here before us, I can't be more proud and excited that it's someone from within Foxborough. I think it really speaks to everything that you have done, and we're going to talk a little bit about that specifically, and the respect that you have from all of your colleagues that are here this evening. From parents, I can tell you that I had many people stop me in the hallway once the 2 finalists were named. I had emails, continuing outpouring with the respect of the work that you've done in Foxborough. So just to go back a little bit and give you and those at home a little bit of information about Karen. So she's 15 years in the classroom as a Spanish teacher, teaching Spanish 1 through 5. She is bilingual, would have that seal of biliteracy that we were talking about. But again, the other piece is when the mathematics piece and teaching Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, up to advanced placement calculus. So when I think about just really the breadth of content that you bring to the classroom before, and then the last 6 years really in your leadership role as the World Language Department head, and then these 2 years as the assistant principal. It really is a great variation of what you bring to the role. Now, Karen, her bachelor's degree is in mathematics and Spanish from the University of Scranton. She has 2 master's degrees, one from the Universidad of
Salamanca.
Yes. In Spanish language and culture, and then a second master's degree from Endicott College in educational leadership. So, as I just stated, so she's been at the Ahern as the assistant principal, but prior to that, really the background that she brought to us was elementary, middle school, and high school by being the 1 to 12 World Language Department head. And when we think about the World Language Fair that we saw tonight, you started that. And all of the work that you did to bring that here, and 6 years later to see it continue thriving and growing, I know you must sit there and feel pretty good about that. The other piece that she brought, which there's so much that you've brought, but the things that really stand out to me is the 90% target language within the classrooms. When you walk into classrooms, you will not hear English, even as
No, I made a
early as
mistake.
first grade.
I spoke in English and they spoke back in Spanish. It was excellent.
I was there when she was, the student said something to her about
Yes.
speaking in English. But what you've brought, not only as an outstanding teacher here at Foxborough High School and then moving into the department role, one of the things I know that when your letters of recommendation, it really spoke to being able to honor the past and what's really important, and being able to then still look with a different eye and continue to grow and to move forward. And I know that under the leadership of Sue Abrams and all that she's brought to the Ahern Middle School over the last close to 20 years, you've had a great mentor for these last 2 years. And for her to have such high praise of you moving into this role, it speaks volumes. And I know that she's going to be at ease if she really does decide to walk out the door, which I'm not sure that she will. But I think that really is a testament to everything that you've done, all of the principals being here this evening, and how closely you've worked with them as the World Language Department head, and your visibility in the buildings, working with teachers, providing effective feedback to make their instruction more engaging and effective for our students. We're really fortunate with all of the work that you've done, and you make it look easy. You really do. Your work ethic is something that is, off the charts. But some of the words that described you from others, talking about things such as approachable, open-minded, collaborative, always student-centered, able to have difficult conversations when they need to take place for what's in the best interest of our students. So I know that when Mrs. Abrams does retire, that she's going to feel that she's in a good spot because of how she's leaving the school and in good hands. And I know that your working relationship with Dr. DeMarco as well, and all of the teachers at the Ahern, speak so highly of the work that you've done with them, and that you are open and approachable, and that they've already learned so much from you. And I know as a leadership team, we will continue to grow and learn with you being in a different role as part of that team.
Thank you.
So, I don't know if you wanted to
Well,
add,
I would
because-
just say there were other words too. There were a lot of them. I mean, authentic and committed and sincere. And I think when the committee, we started our committee work by really drafting the qualities and attributes that we were looking for in a candidate. And you checked the boxes for what everybody was looking for. And it was really a proud moment for us to know that you've been part of our community and that you want to continue your work here. That says a lot about us, and it says a lot about you. And the team was really impressed with the answers that you gave in both rounds of your interviews, and your sincerity and your passion really showed through, and the commitment to students. So we were really, it's not often that you go out and someone does check the boxes in the way that you did, and we're really excited for you to move into this role. And I know I've spoken to you before about the transformational effect you've had on some of the teachers that I know personally about, and I look forward to you being in a position where you can have even more impact. So congratulations. Just
Thank you
excited
so
to
much.
have you. Anything you want to say?
No, I'm so excited and so grateful for the opportunity. It's an honor, and it's been a privilege to be here in the district for as long as I have been. And I feel like I've grown as a teacher, as a leader, as an administrator, and just really looking forward to continuing that work with the amazing teachers we have at the Ahern and continue working with our students there. I've really come to love the age group, as I've mentioned, in every stage of this process. But learning so much every day and just excited about continuing to do that.
Anyone?
Great choice. Just a great choice.
I just want to echo again, same thing with Dr. Mello and Dr. Berdos. I think it's awesome when someone's promoted from inside Foxborough.
Thank you.
And I just would like to say it is easy to recognize a home run, especially when the hitter runner tags up at every single base. Every single base. And you bring to us, Karen, longevity, the breadth of your background, experience. You know our cultural climate, so there's going to be no adjustment. You listen. One of your strengths is that you listen. I feel you're going to add stability. You will bring leadership, creative leadership, as you guide us into the future. And I just want to say thank you for applying.
Thank you.
Yes.
So go take a nap and take your vitamins.
Yeah.
Get ready.
I'm gonna need the energy.
When are we posting Karen's position
Same question.
for the next assistant
Yes.
principal?
It'll be no-
Pretty much immediately.
Yesterday?
Yes.
That's the only bad part from promoting within. It's not a bad thing at all.
Congratulations.
I'm very excited
you.
for you. I've known you since the beginning, so
That's true.
we've worked together many times.
This year.
I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, Joe, how cute is that?
Thank you all for coming.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you.
for your support and for all each of you do. All righty, I guess we move on now to the superintendent's
lost our whole
entry plan. The report of the findings.
All right.
Dr. Berdos.
I'll always have Joe. We'll always have Joe.
These are the chairs once again. So just as a reminder of the background, more so for those that might be watching, not so much for your benefit because you've been hearing about this many different times throughout this school year. So this is part of participating in the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, the new superintendent induction program. And it is a process as new superintendents in Massachusetts that they have us go through, which is conducting an entry plan, whether you are new to a district or you've been in the district like myself. And in the beginning, some of us, again, I've mentioned before, there's 41 new superintendents that are participating in the program this year. And out of the 41 of us, there's 3 of us that started midway through last year. But it didn't really start until July with this school year. And a number of the superintendents have been in the same district, and many of them are new to districts. And so the conversation started with, is it as valuable for those of us that have been in the same district? And I can tell you it absolutely is. It is really viewing through a different lens and being in a different role. It provides an opportunity to speak with different stakeholder groups in a different way and collect information. So what I'm going to be presenting here to you this evening are really the findings. It's not what we're going to do about the findings. It is strictly the findings and what that process looked like. So just as a reminder, so starting in July, I started collecting information as part of my entry plan, and that carried through all the way through the very end of March. That information is then synthesized and analyzed in order to see which themes really kind of rise up from all of the information, and then reporting what I found as a result of that analysis, and that's what I'm going to be presenting. The next steps that will take place after that, I will talk a little bit at the end of this. So I think that it's really important, as far as the overview and summary, what did I take on the big picture? What did I take from this? And the most exciting part for me was really hearing and seeing the consistency. So when we are thinking about data, whether it's something that we can look at, something that we hear, or something that we see, being able to triangulate that information to see what's the big message that comes out of that. And the message that really came out loud and clear was that in this community, relationships are positive, they're valued, there's respect, there's trust, and there's transparency. There's a very positive collaborative working relationship that exists between the schools, between town agencies and organizations. There's a strong community support for our schools. There's a strong sense of pride by all stakeholder groups. Our students, they have a lot of pride in their schools. Our staff and our teachers, they have a lot of pride in working for the Foxborough Public Schools. Our parents have a lot of pride in our schools, and our community has pride in our schools. So there really is this culture of excellence, the solid and consistent curriculum that we offer for students, and having multiple levels of challenge is something that was mentioned over and over again. And there was a great appreciation for all of the supports and the value that students leave with from the Foxborough Public Schools. The performing and visual arts was mentioned over and over as far as our world languages, having 3 languages, and starting in grade 1. Many districts do not start at the elementary level, and that was something that was of value, and I think that we can see some of the benefits that we saw this evening. And really, most importantly, that the schools focus on the whole student. It's not just academics. We are here for our students as a whole, looking at their social, emotional, mental health, who they are, building relationships with them, and then providing a strong, excellent education so that they will leave us and be college or career ready. So that was really the sense that came from all of the different meetings that I had, and I'll go through that a little bit more specifically. When I was meeting with over 30 groups, and many of them really actually quite a few more than that, I asked these same 5 questions. And it was, what do you value about Foxborough Public Schools, depending on who the constituency groups were that I was meeting with? What does the Foxborough Public Schools do well? Where can we do better? Where are some areas that they might think that we need work within the district? What expectations did they have of the superintendent, specifically of me, moving from assistant superintendent to the superintendent role and really understanding what the expectations were? Is there anything else that I should know? And then how can we strengthen our partnerships if they're from someone that was outside the school system? So these same questions were asked of whether they were students, whether they were teachers and staff, administrators, through you and different groups that you participated, whether it's parent leader groups or many of the other different community evenings, taking all of that information and seeing what really rose to the surface. So that data collection involved things that I could see, hear, and count. So the hear part were all of these groups. So as I said before, the student groups, grade 4 students at each of the elementary levels, the Ahern Student Council, and then the Foxborough High School Student Advisory Council, which, as you know, is my student learning goal from this year, which involves students from all grade levels here at the high school. Meeting multiple times with teachers and staff at each of the 5 schools, meeting with parent groups through either the PTOs, the PACs, parent leaders, evening community meetings, principal coffees, anywhere I could go and have parents there to ask those questions. And then also having meetings with representatives from our advisory committee, from the Board of Selectmen. I met with clergy members, with public safety, and then with the senior center. I was not able to get that one scheduled, but I'm still planning on meeting with them this month. So this information was really everything that I could hear, and to take that. The next part was information that I could count And you're probably going to recognize a number of these documents because it's our baseline and benchmarks report that's presented here at school committee, the OECD test for schools results that was also presented, looking at all of our other accountability data, whether it's MCAS, ACT, SAT, et cetera. But also looking at other pieces of information in addition to those hard number, looking at perception data such as the K-12 Culture and Climate Survey results, which is also presented here, but then looking at our enrollment trends, looking at budget reports, looking at Department of Ed tools that are now available to us where we can compare our district to other districts that are similar when we look at things such as our English language learner population. We look at our percentage of students in special education, when we look at our economically disadvantaged, looking at our staffing. So there's so much data to be able to take to help look at where are we in relation to achievement, but also when we look at finances and we look at supports that are in place. And then things that I could see, that's from observations. That's my monthly school visits, visiting classrooms with principals, also on my own, our instructional rounds, which you've heard a lot about, and working with department heads or other assistant principals or principals for that purpose, attending many different school activities, performances, athletic events, our own professional development activities, staff meetings, administrator meetings. There's a lot to observe. So taking all of that information, synthesizing and analyzing that to see where do we fall, what were the findings, and looking for any trends or patterns across all of those areas. 4 themes emerged. These themes, the first being all students, meeting the needs of all learners. Academic excellence, 21st century teaching and learning is the second. Communication is the third, and then community engagement, district and school culture and climate. So where you see on the right, the triangle that is representing these 4 broad themes, what struck me is really the center here is our students. So when we think about the instructional core and our purpose, it all comes back to the students. So it really doesn't matter which of those 4 themes, it still connects back to our students. So what I'd like to do is to go through each of these themes, talk about the strengths, and then the opportunities for inquiry, and then also some essential questions that are going to guide the work in the next phase of this process. So the first theme, looking across all that information and really looking at all of our students and meeting their needs. The strengths that came across, whether it was from interviews or from all of the documents or from observations, we provide a well-rounded education. We're really focusing on teaching the whole child. Teachers are seen as caring, compassionate, and very dedicated. There's strong relationships that are built between staff, between students, between administrators and the community. The schools are supportive and responsive to attending to the needs with students with special needs. Schools provide a safe learning environment. Our mental health supports are in place at all levels when we think about our social workers, our guidance counselors, any of those that are in that field where we're really looking at some of the other, aside from the academics, and supporting our students' needs. And at the same time, the community agencies outside and working with those community agencies for those wraparound services for our students. There's a strong partnership there. Resources and supports are available for all of our students, whether it's our students that are the most needy or those that are really excelling at the other end, and what are some opportunities for them. The students are prepared for the next level and transitions between schools. There's a strong sense of collaboration and partnership, again, between our town agencies and then those, again, with the wraparound services. That we have numerous extracurricular activities at the different levels, and that no fees in Foxborough was a topic that came up over and over, and that the community values and supports that. There are many more strengths that you have listed within your packet there as far as the full findings, but this, I think, really captures the essence of that. But when we look for opportunities for inquiry and growth, and thinking about how we're meeting the needs of all students, the area of social emotional challenges that affect learning came out from our staff side, even from our students, and hearing from our students when they have a friend that might be having a tough time and trying to meet their needs, whether it's through sensory stations or helping them to be able to identify where they are and what kind of a day that they're having. So even from our youngest learners, this is something that came up, and how can we best help their friends in that case, or in teachers, and meeting the needs of their students. And so professional development was a topic that came up over and over. We have some extraordinary educators that have been teaching a very long time, but some of the profiles of students that are in our classes trying to find proactive, preventative ways to best meet their needs from a skills deficit approach is a topic that came up frequently. Also, strengthening opportunities for extending the learning for our highest performing students. At the high school, there's advanced placement courses, there's honors level courses, and there's some at the middle school, but what are some areas that we can leverage more to extend the learning and enrich our elementary and our middle school students? Our growing special education population, looking at our service delivery models and how we can best schedule to accommodate the needs of our students in an effective and an efficient way. That's something that came up particularly from our teachers and our administrators. Diversity, our growing L population. When we look back to 2011, where we had 7 English language students, and now we're up over 60, and we have over 20 languages. Meeting the needs of that growing population is something that came up over and over, because we want to make sure that we're addressing any equity gaps as well. And then in speaking of equity, this is something that we talked about earlier here at the table that Massachusetts is really looking at, where we know that Massachusetts is #1 in the country and has the highest performing students, but we also have some of the largest gaps when we look deeper into that data. So we're also looking to see where are our gaps, where are any inequitable practices, and ensuring that our practices reflect that students will learn and that we can safeguard that learning. So we have an environment that really is a very inclusive environment. So again, these are the findings. So what will we do with this particular theme as we move forward and we look towards our district strategy improvement? These 2 questions are really going to guide our work. How can Foxborough better leverage scheduling and programming for all students to provide equitable access to high quality, grade level academic and behavioral instruction and supports for all students? And how do we continue to confront our own unconscious bias of race and ethnicity? So that is a topic that we've been talking a lot about this year, but it definitely came up within the data as something that we need to continue to work on and figure out how we can best meet those equity gaps and continue to serve all students. The second theme, academic excellence. We are definitely a district of academic excellence. And when we look at 21st century teaching and learning, yes, we're 19 years into the 21st century, but what does it look like in our classrooms today? So the strengths that really came to the forefront here were that we do have a rigorous curriculum in place. It's well-rounded. We have consistency across the 3 elementary schools. That was brought up over and over. Whether you're in 3rd grade at either of the elementaries, you're going to have that consistent curriculum across the schools so they have a common experience by the students reach the Ahern. That our students are college and career ready upon graduation. That parents and teachers, they report a culture of excellence does exist. In addition to our challenging curriculum that exists, we also have a variety of course offerings. Many districts, sadly, have not been able to sustain when we think about wellness or we think about art or music or world languages at the lower levels. We've been able to sustain that over the years. It's very much valued and appreciated. And then when we look at the diverse course offerings, particularly at the high school, but also at the middle school, student voice comes forward when we think about the courses that are offered. Our students are not only well prepared for college, but they're accepted into many colleges and universities that are highly selective. Our students, parents, teachers are in high agreement that they're provided and supported with the instructional materials and resources and technology. So when we think about what we talk here at this table and your support of the budget and the community support of the budget, it is valued and appreciated, and it makes a difference for our students, whether it's through reading and math specialists, whether it's through the actual materials that they have, or the technology. That was brought up over and over as being something that is of value and that is making a difference for our students. And collaboration is valued and provided among teachers and the schools, and we also have a high quality of professional development where the offerings are very much timely and effective. So when it's not about a matter of looking for the latest trend, it's really looking at deep instructional practices that are going to make a difference for students and having that professional development for teachers that's going to make a difference in their classroom. Within academic excellence and thinking about our classroom instruction, where are our opportunities for inquiry and growth? This really is to expand our opportunities for continued analysis and instructional practices so we can ensure high expectations teaching. So what's taking place for our students, and we can provide a rigorous and relevant curriculum so we can better support their learning. Talked about at the World Culture Night and these opportunities to learn about cultures and diversity, making sure that we have those global connections for students and they're able to apply that. In addition to that, look at where we can maximize opportunities for real-world connections and to make learning relevant. We don't want our students to sit there and say, why am I learning this? So how can we continue to work to make sure that it is relevant, that there's high expectations teaching, and that we're able to have those real-world connections for students so it's meaningful. And then our opportunities for collaboration, where we have professional learning communities or teacher assistant teams or our building-based support teams, continuing to look at those through a different lens and how can we make them more effective so we're better meeting the needs of the students that are in front of us. So the questions that will really guide this work is, how do we ensure students are exposed to rigorous and relevant teaching? How can we engage students to generate ideas and real-world problems and provide a structure for that process of creating possible solutions? How do we engage students in ways that build their understanding of a global community? And then also, what safeguards must be in place so students are college and career ready? We do a lot of things really well, but we need to continue to look at that and how can we leverage what we do well, but at the same time move forward. The third theme is a little bit more general, and it was communication. And when this rose to the surface as far as trends and patterns, it came up on the parent side with communication that's from teachers or through Power School. From the teacher side and administrative side, the communication came up with transitions and planning for students and moving from school to school are processes that we have in place of where we can make them better. So that we're better meeting students' needs. On the community side, it was, where do we do well? It's strategic planning and that we're all on the same page and that we have this common vision and we're looking for the same outcomes for our students. And then also from a communication side, more global at the school level, is that people are open and they're available and they're responsive, whether it's teachers or whether it's administrators, in meeting with parents or meeting with students, and that community members really found the schools to be welcoming and accessible. From things such as just, I have a problem, and calling to have someone to meet with me and getting that response and people being open, or from being able to sign up for parent-teacher conferences online at the secondary level and saying that that works really well. Mm-hmm. But in the area of communication, some of the areas where we can do better is to really look at where are some places within our transition planning and the vertical articulation from our school procedures and processes to support our students. The communication delivery between teachers and grade levels and schools, depending on what teacher you have or what grade level, it can vary. So really looking at what the parent or the student experiences from the teacher side. Sometimes you might have a teacher that communicates a lot. Sometimes you might have one that communicates more at parent-teacher conferences. Where can we find that balance and what's an effective mode of communication? Because all needs are going to vary. Some parents want a lot of communication. Some are good with just the quarter or the trimester report cards and conferences. Some teachers have more robust websites. Some are not as robust as others. And, you know, there's many reasons for that we're exploring, whether it has to do with our new web presence. But again, it's an area of where we see that we can do better and explore for just improving. And then expanding the modes of communication to promote where our students do well. I mean, whether it's through the Foxborough Reporter or through a Twitter, how can we, in a kind of a public relations standpoint, really put out there all of what our students and our staff are doing well and communicate that more frequently. And then the last one there is with the new web presence, getting feedback on what works well with that, what could be improved. And again, it's brand new, and so we're taking that feedback to be able to continue to make improvements in that area. So really the essential question here to drive our work in this area is what communication strategies and activities might we leverage to more effectively and routinely engage with all stakeholder groups. The last theme, community engagement, district, school culture, and climate. This one really speaks to the involvement of our parents and our community in our schools. We have a lot of involvement. Our parents are so supportive with their time or with their resources for the schools. Just even at the last school committee meeting when we had our Borough Igo Taylor chairs, you know, speak to what they're able to bring to our students, whether it's through author studies or through field trips or special presentations within the schools. That is something that is very much appreciated by students. They spoke. You heard even at the last meeting the presentations that are brought and the opportunities. So having that engagement from our parents through PTOs, our PACs, that high level of engagement for our own staff. Parents spoke about teachers really are engaged with students. They're willing to stay after school. They're willing to help however they can. Even things such as coaches, understanding if they need to meet with a teacher and being flexible and working with students. Having a high level of respect and collaboration between our staff and our faculty, whether it goes back to the culture and climate survey information or just through observations. We have a very collaborative environment where there is great collegiality, but there's also a real sense of collaboration where people want to work together of what's in the best interest of our students. That there's many opportunities, whether they're academic or non-academic for our students. We have strong partnerships. We have so many wonderful partnerships that are supportive either through grants and donations or through time that really make a difference for our students and our staff. And the community as a whole is very much in supportive and involved, providing additional opportunities for schools and for students. Something is like our senior project, all of the community partners that work to place our students. Our opportunities for growth and inquiry here are really looking at, is there an opportunity to better and more effectively communicate and recognize and celebrate what we do well, which kind of goes back to the communication piece, but it also really falls here within the engagement piece. Identify any other groups that maybe we're not yet closely connected with. And then explore ways that we can communicate in a visible way so that Foxborough is a community that embraces and celebrates differences, identities, and cultural backgrounds. How can we help answer the question of how can we best communicate a consistent message of acceptance? And in order to go forward with that work is, again, raising awareness about embracing and celebrating differences, preventing and minimizing racial, ethnic, cultural, religious, and gender bias and discrimination in our students and our schools. This really comes back from our work of our committee last year with our bias and discrimination group. It came up with all of the professional development that we've had this year with cultural proficiency. And then again, this part, this last one here, which I think is so important, what are the valued practices that must be nourished and continued in order to sustain a positive climate and culture while taking Foxborough Public Schools to the next level? We have a very strong culture and climate. We don't want to take that for granted. What can we do? Continue to make sure that we're nourishing that and continue that in order to sustain that very positive culture and climate as we move forward. So those are the findings. The next step here is really to look at developing our strategy for district improvement. That is taking this information and with our leadership team starting from the spring and throughout the summer to then identify the big ideas and the focus areas, which will lead to a theory of action. That theory of action really states, if we do this, then this will happen. But it's a narrower focus. So unlike our strategic plan, which really looks at all different operations across the district, this one has a more narrow focus that's really focused on teaching and learning, and then identifying objectives with strategies under those of how we're going to impact in the classroom with our students for teaching and learning. So a strategic plan really is not going to change. We report out on it annually. But this one, we're going to continually look at this, of those more narrow focus areas of where it's going to make a bigger impact in the classroom for the educational experience for our students, and develop that theory of action, which I will bring to you in the fall so that you can see the findings and the work that we've developed to really narrow where we see that the strategy will make the biggest impact for our students. So a lot of information.
When is
A
that?
lot of work went into gathering that information. Thank you.
She's been a busy woman with all those meetings.
Wow.
Well, I think it's a very valuable exercise and certainly a good use of your time to be reflective about, I mean, I think it's probably even more valuable where you were our assistant superintendent here and now are our superintendent than if you were going into a different district. And because if you were entering a different district, you would look at everything with a critical eye. And I think going back and looking at even everything you've been involved with in a very positive way, with that critical eye and saying, how can I make it better, is so good for the future of our district and really important work. And I'm looking forward to seeing the answers to the questions and what comes next, because we are proud of what we have done well, and we want to continue that, but we don't ever want to get complacent sitting here at this
Which
table.
is what she's doing. She's
And-
actually opening that to do that.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and I think we've always felt that way, but this is a real path forward. I think it's great. Thank you.
When is our strategic plan end, our 3-year?
We're halfway through right
We're
now.
halfway. I couldn't remember how long ago it was we did that. Okay.
And looking at the strategic plan was one document.
Right.
As a part of, in being part of creating a number of the documents too, but looking at it in a different way to really see how it triangulates with the other and to see what would kind of lift from there. It really reminded me of my dissertation work when you're doing all of that data analysis to see what's emerging that's there. And so there were many times that I would say to Allison, this is what we were working on. This is really good because this is what's
Thank
lifting
goodness.
from this work. But it's validating, I think, is the message that I want to say. It's very validating to know where we're putting so much of our effort and the teachers are putting so much of their efforts that it's in the right places. We still have opportunities for growth, but it helps provide a direction to be able to do that in a more systematic way.
And we can remember all of these things at the end of the year when we are writing our summary. And Chris and Marilyn both, as being seated school committee members, we will be asking you to fill out your evaluation at the end of the year for the compilation on Dr. Bertos's first year at the helm. Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion, questions?
I thought you did a nice job on the report, too. And you know what I picked up on, one thing about communication? I thought you really nailed some nice details about it. In your first theme, you talked about students transitioning back, which is a communication with parents about how that all works. And then in one of the other themes, you talked about really paying attention to continue to work on the vertical, that articulation between schools and transferring. I thought that was really well picked up, that there's a real positive in what's communicating to the parents and and how they're communicating back with us for some very important things for the students. But then there's also that reflection amongst you and the staff about, we can continue to hone that, how our teachers communicate individually and collectively. I thought that was really wise. I really thought that was wise and really well identified. I did.
Even communication in general over the last, 10, 15 years has changed, because I think now we as a society are expecting a little more instantaneous communication and instant answers, and I think our system does a very good job of communicating out things very quickly to parents and getting back to people in a very timely manner. But it has changed and evolved, and I think we have tried very hard here to change and evolve with it, and we will continue to do so going forward. So, yeah, it's all good.
I was very pleased where so much of it still came back to the student, because it really goes back to that instructional core. So whether it was communicating, like the transition, it's about the students. Whether it's about the teachers and the community, it's about the students. So that became very evident of that we have a very clear purpose.
And I think because of that, and because we're always engaged in those conversations, much to Amy's point, so much of the opportunities we have for growth, it was validating because some of them were already been working on, because we were aware of them, but to hear it through a different perspective, it was very validating to say, oh, we're on the right track with that, and we will continue down that path, and our time is well spent.
To hear teachers say within the focus groups on professional development, and I'll quote, "Thank you for feeding my brain."
I love it.
That we are always looking at how can we improve, and that the district's always looking to how they can best support teachers and give them what they need, and they're not having to go outside the district to get that professional development, because we have that here within the district. That was a high compliment
That
to
is
the
a very high
Professional Development
compliment.
Committee and the work that they do.
Thank you for feeding my brain. I like it.
Well done.
Very well
Forward
done.
to the next
Yeah, good.
steps.
Next on our agenda, school committee vote to approve the Foxborough Public Schools policy manual. As you know, we did a complete overhaul and we continually update. So thank you for our school committee subcommittee on policies. And we have been working on them as they have been made available to us, or we have been notified that some need tweaking or new ones completely developed.
So I can give one example that we have that we're going to need our policy subcommittee to look at, which is a small change, but it has to do with our policy on who our liaison is for our homeless population. They've separated that out now, and we have to have a separate policy for the liaison for our homeless, and then one for students that are in foster care. So a separate liaison. Kim McDowell is our liaison. She would actually be our liaison for both, but we need a separate policy for that. So that's one that's smaller, but again, by this annual vote that you have to continue with our policy manual, but it also is representative of us looking to what policies need to be updated.
So do I have a vote that we accept?
A move to approve the Foxborough Public Schools policy manual.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 500, thank you. And now one of our favorite parts of our meeting, acceptance of donation.
And this one's a large one. Mr. Yukna might be able to give some more specifics, but it's from the track and field boosters. It's for $10,000, which is to be used, hopefully, to purchase a record board and some other bigger items for our track and field. So a very generous donation from the booster, the Track Boosters Club. So I don't know, Bill, if you had some other information you'd like to add.
No, I think in general, the track, as well as the other boosters and organizations, have always been very supportive. I think in this case, They're going to see a new track facility here, which obviously they'd like to have all the appropriate equipment around as well. So I know they're looking for things that we may not have at this point. But some of the things like the track board or the record board, just as recognition, because again, this is a sport where there's a lot of individual events and a lot of team overall things, but it's not as easy to record somebody who is just maybe the best in the state in one thing, as compared to where we have it in music and the arts. So I think this is a way to try to create some recognition for those students as well. But again, in general, I think all the boosters clubs and the track and field has been incredible. Whether it's supporting, coaching, additional staff that they want to be there, or and supplies and services. So
Very generous.
So a lot of cookie dough went into this donation. I think I bought a lot of it myself. Well, not just cookie dough, but there's I say that just, but a lot of hard work by students and parents went into
Absolutely.
the fundraising.
Absolutely,
That and this is the track and field encompasses cross country, winter track, and spring track. So, and there's a lot of overlap between those families and the students that participate. And we're really lucky to have great leadership in that booster club. But a lot of effort went into this, and it's great because it's going towards something that will benefit, the current kids in track and future track and field. And they've actually started track at the middle school. I know Joe Cusack was it 7th and 8th grade?
I think it's the unified track, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the middle school track.
Middle school track.
And unified track too,
Yes,
which is
right.
separate, but also a wonderful thing. But I know the middle school students were doing track, so he's grooming them to come up and
runners
and
clubs at the
participate.
elementary.
And the runners
Right.
clubs.
That was
Good. All gearing up for the Foxborough Cares 5K, which I believe is June 1st. So we'll add that in. But this is a great donation. It would be my pleasure to move to accept the donation from the Foxborough Track and Field Booster Club in the amount of $10,000 with gratitude.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? 500, thank you very much. Other matters, people? Meryl?
We're still in union negotiations. We'll probably in it for another few weeks or so. That's all I got.
Okay. Rich?
I was going to talk about the World Language and Culture Night that I came to, but it was talked about, so it was great. And it was wonderful.
Sure was.
It's a great opportunity for us to have it right here in-house at our high school.
I mean, and the way it's grown, too. I mean, that's exciting. And now with that biliteral seal award coming up, I'm excited. I mean, that's something else. It's great.
Very exciting.
Any more, Tina?
This Wednesday is the junior prom contract signing night at
Oh,
6
my.
p.m., which is a big deal for the junior class and anyone who's not in the junior class but is attending the prom with a member of the junior class should be there. And our police department does a wonderful job of presenting with the administration in order to make sure the kids make good choices and it is a safe and fun night for all. So that's my only thing.
Yeah, they do a good job
They
with that
do.
every year, fortunately.
Me? Well, I'm actually really excited. I have a little announcement for everybody. It's just so appropriate that we had our World Language and Culture Night tonight, and that we talked about the seal of biliteracy, and a component of that is global citizenship. It's also part of our strategic plan. And today, from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, our English department head, Shannon Wazlewski, she defended her dissertation on global citizenship, and she is now Dr. Wazlewski, and she told me I could announce it.
Everything was tied in
time.
tonight. Everything was tied in.
It is, and so it's exciting to know that we have people strategically in leadership roles who can help us execute the goals of our strategic plan, the feedback that we have there, and have expertise and research in this area to lead us in that direction. So
She defended it this afternoon.
Yes,
and
I
is
was
officially doctor.
Yes, I was very honored to be on
Global
her
citizenship.
on her committee for her team. So I was part
This
of her
is exciting.
defense. Yeah, it was great. It was really. I was very proud. I had a little tear. I was very proud of her and happy for her. So I said to Dr. Einsel, I said, I have a birth announcement. We have a new doctor.
That's really nice.
So that's all I have, yes, but congratulations.
That's excellent.
Great.
I would just, I think we have a band concert Thursday night.
Yeah.
As well.
The spring concert.
The spring concert is Thursday at 7? Is it
Wait a
7,
minute.
Joe?
Band concert and spring concert tonight?
No, Thursday. It's the spring concert.
The orchestra.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
everything.
all right, so the
Thursday.
whole spring concert is
Yep, the choir.
this
All of
Thursday
them.
Choir.
at 7?
And Micah Festival is this coming weekend.
That's
as
right,
well.
the Mike Festival
Yeah.
this weekend.
Is the
as well.
concert at 7?
Joe, did you say 7? Yes.
Usually at 7, yeah.
They
I heard
typically
them,
are.
I heard somebody rehearsing as we came in.
And the only other part that I wanted to do was to thank all of publicly, and I should have done it before with my entry findings, is to thank all of those people who did spend time with me. I mean, yourselves included in answering my questions and really providing that information to me, whether it was before school or after school with our staff and all of our parent groups, because all of the information that I was able to gain was really valuable. And then again, another thank you to the group that was on Allison's screening committee, the two of you included, for the principal search. So I just need to say one more time that the screening and the interview and the process is so
I love the
long and
process.
thorough, and to end up with the candidate that we did tonight is a lot. She did a lot in order to be in that spot tonight, and it really speaks to her, but the work from all of the people who spent all of those times, that time with Allison, many nights, and a lot of work outside those 5 nights. So as you know from the packets and all of the readings,
Thank
those
you
are
so
just-
much
fun. We read,
and our
read,
parents
read.
that were involved in that too, people just really don't understand the amount of work outside of those 5 nights that goes into that. So a big thank you to our community and parent members that were part of that, in addition to our
Michelle
faculty and
Thaxton
staff.
and Michelle Redmond.
Yes,
Yeah.
both of our Michelles.
Yes.
So I thank them.
Absolutely.
All right. Before I totally maybe lose my voice between now and next meeting, and before I forget, I want to say thank you very much to Marilyn for her 21 years of volunteering for about everything in every school. You won a one-year seat, and then you completed a 3-year term in our school committee. Thank you.
My
We'll see-
pleasure.
I'm sure we'll see you at a couple of job fairs or a few other things,
You never know where you'll find me.
right?
I think a couple people have my number and email.
And to Chris, thank you for your full term on the school committee. I mean, for a newcomer in town, you certainly have added a lot in your first 3 years, plus remodeling your own home, being an excellent teacher, coaching winning teams. And I shall miss the way you observe things and your insightful questions. And thank you for your service to Foxborough.
Thank you.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion.
On that note.
All in favor? 5-0.